Morning students. So today's online video class we have to start with the same chapter of life process and continue with the second life process called respiration. Now as you can see the topic respiration over here there, the word has been demarked or divided into two different parts. When I look into the word TION, this word TION is added to many of the life process, and that is why a common meaning is given to this word, which means it's a process. Now let us come back to the first word, respire. Now this word has come from the respire word. That means respiration means a process to respire. Here, respiration basically means the exchange of gases. That means taking in of the oxygen gas and giving out carbon dioxide as a byproduct. Now, here why this oxygen and carbon dioxide is being taken inside the body and released out? Because this oxygen will be required to break down the smallest unit, that is glucose, that was absorbed by the cell during the process of nutrition. If you remember in the chapter topic nutrition we were dealing, the last component or the simplest nutrient was transformed into glucose. So this glucose now will be utilized to provide energy, and the process to break down this 6 carbon containing glucose into 1 carbon containing compound will give a lot of energy. So basically respiration is divided into two different processes which take place one after the other. The first part is known as breathing or extracellular respiration. That is the process in which the body takes in oxygen and gives out carbon dioxide. It's more of a physical process rather than a biochemical process. Okay, so there is no chemical reactions over there, but it is mostly a physical process. The oxygen that is taken inside will be taking part in the cellular respiration or intracellular respiration, in which the glucose molecule, can you see that 6 carbons are there? Each of the bond will be broken down one by one, so that after breaking each bond, certain amount of energy is released, and this energy is trapped in the form of energy currency or ATP. This ATP we are going to deal in the next slide. Now, can you see this diagram? This diagram or this experiment you have done in class 7. This is to prove that when we exhale out, then the air contains a huge amount of carbon dioxide. Now, what we have taken in test tube A, we have taken lime water. What is lime water? It is calcium hydroxide, which is made when calcium oxide is reacted with water. This lime water is freshly prepared, and now what we are doing? We are blowing air into that lime water and trying to find out the change. When this is done, what we found is that at the spontaneously this what will happen, that lime water's color now will change into milky. So this presence of color change, the milky color that forms during this process, this is telling me the fact that the air that we blow out contains a lot of percentage of carbon dioxide in it. Now the same experiment will be proceeded with the next part of the diagram. Let us take this experiment now. Now we have setup B. Can you see setup B? Now in setup B, what we have done, we have taken a similar test tube. Similar calcium hydroxide or lime water is taken, and it is kept open in the environment. That means, for example, we have kept it undisturbed on the table. So here also, after a lot of time, this calcium hydroxide's color will change into milky. But if you compare how much time this test tube A and B have taken and compare them, you will find out that this test tube B has taken more time. Okay, so you can understand that what greater percentage of CO2 is present in the air that we blow out. Now, what we are going to try is we are going to see that whether organism like yeast also give out CO2 while it is doing the thing. So what we have done, we have again taken two test tubes. In one of the test tube, we have taken yeast. So yeast is a living organism. Definitely it will respire. We have kept it in a nutrient solution. And we are taking test tube in the next, we are taking calcium hydroxide in the next test tube. We try to find that whether milkiness has appeared in it. Try to find the question, what will happen? Will it change into milky or not? The answer you are going to get in my other different slides. We will come across this question again. This experiment where we are using a test tube. Can you see this test tube over here? We have put some germinating seed. Germinating seeds means it is still respiring. Living cells are present. So this germinating seeds, definitely if it is germinating, it is living in nature. Now what we have done? We have taken a bent shaped test tube. It is connected and all over it is made with a cork. Now here what is done? A beaker is taken and inside that beaker water is taken. It's not lime water, it is normal water. Can you see in this bent test tube where the germinating seed was kept, a small test tube is also lying containing potassium hydroxide. Now potassium hydroxide has a capacity to absorb all the CO2 that gets released. Now because the test tube is completely closed and the only way of CO2 getting out is by getting absorbed into this KOH. So what will happen? It will absorb all the carbon dioxide and create a vacuum in the space, because now what is happening? Germinating seed is taking the oxygen present in the test tube and it is releasing what? Carbon dioxide for respiration. This carbon dioxide is getting absorbed by the KOH and that means a vacuum is created. So it will have a very low pressure present over here. Now compare it with this test tube or beaker having water. Definitely this water containing test tube is having comparatively high pressure compared to this test tube. So what will happen? Diffusion will occur. That means the water from here will start moving into this test tube. So you will see after some time the water that was kept over here rises to a certain level in this tube on the opposite direction of the gravitation. That means this activity is actually happening. This germinating seed activity is the first experiment or practical of your class 10 syllabus. So a lot of examples and questions are asked from here. So we will talk about now the different kinds of respiration occurring in different organisms. So over here, look into this flow chart. Respiration we are going to understand in unicellular organism like amoeba, and we will again see it in multicellular organism and again divided into as animals and plants. In the case of amoeba, please remember it's a one-celled organism. When it is a one-celled organism, only the process of diffusion easily can help it to take in oxygen and release CO2. For example, this is the amoeba having a flexible membrane. In class 9th, we have seen that oxygen concentration in the outer environment is more and oxygen concentration inside is less. So what will happen? By the process of diffusion, oxygen will directly enter into the amoeba cell. Similarly, CO2 will be produced more in the amoeba because of respiration, and CO2 is comparatively less in the same volume. So what will happen? CO2 will come out. So in amoeba like organism, diffusion alone can easily help the exchange of gases and no further organ system or organization is required here. Now, diffusion enough cannot help multicellular organism because multicellular organism contains a number of different cells. So, if this diffusion process is allowed, the process will be very slow. That means each oxygen that enters one cell, it will take a lot of time to pass on from one cell to another and finally reach to the target organ. For example, if there is an oxygen molecule in the lungs and by diffusion it has to reach to the cell of your toe, you know, legs. toe, that means fingers of the legs. So it may, by the process of diffusion, if we calculate the rate, it may take more than 3 years to reach there, and for that time the organism will not get any oxygen in that cell. That means ultimate death of the organism. So in the next video we will talk about the different ways by which animals and plants respire. Thank you so much.